formed in a dream, kept in a thought, carried across oceans, spoken in whispers, passed down from elders, planted in gardens of okra, prayed for in sanctuary, resisted with fury, protected with faith, created with love, born into being, from root to bone. You are here.
This podcast talks about colonial, racial, and gender-based violence. Please listen at your own pace and capacity. And remember to do what you need to do to care for yourself if you feel activated by this content. Should you need resources, please check out our section on resources at decolonizingtherapy.com. Be well. Greetings, 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 my good people. It is I, Dr. Jen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Dr. Jennifer Mullen, and I am an author of Decolonizing Therapy, the book. From Root to Bone is the podcast for people who are parched, poised, and primed to rehydrate our souls and to do some unlearning. It's a place where I get to unlock the gates and have some real-ass conversations with some real-ass teachers, elders, intellectual crushes, and people doing the real-ass work towards reclaiming the juiciest parts of our ancestry, history, collective health, and liberation. It is my honor to be here with you today as we begin to talk to the one, the only, Robert Downs. But that intro will be in just a second. For now, I'm going to welcome you, Robert, before I give us the official intro, and say that I am placing on our virtual altar 3 books that I think is representative of some of the juiciest parts of my care for you and some of the things that I think of and some of the folks and the badassery and the beauty and the poetry that I think of when I think of you and our relationship. And so the first is They Come in the Morning. If They Come in the Morning, Voices of Resistance, edited by Angela Davis. And I remember when I first grabbed this, I thought to myself, ooh, this is a lot. And it's delicious at the same time. I felt a both end. And I would say that my favorite chapter here that really did it for me, hold on, I have this right here, is Prison Interviews with Angela Davis. I think that was one of my favorite. And the other book that I have.
I know that book.
Is Unruly Therapeutic, Black Feminist Writings and Practices in Living Room by our beloved Feluke Taylor. I met Robert through Feluke and through this amazing book and through the living room. And so we'll talk more about that space. If you have not already grabbed a copy of Unruly Therapeutic, please do. And if you do not know who Feluke Taylor is, then I suggest you get on some kind of search engine, the least harmful one, and find out. And Feluke Taylor was also on our podcast for season 1. So please, please, please check out her work and please enjoy being wrapped in her energy. The third book that I'm going to place on our altar is a little bit more of Angela Y. Davis. Freedom is a Constant Struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Ferguson, Palestine, and the Foundations of a Movement. And I don't know. When I was looking through all of my books, for some reason, I was drawn to these. And I was drawn to the ways that Black feminism has shaped you and how your description of that has impacted me. And how it has sort of enthralled me. It was like such a beautiful platonic turn on, intellectual turn on, if I might say. It was like so juicy and beautiful and authentic. So that's what I'm placing on our virtual altar for our space for the rest of this hour. And I'd like to read a little bit from a piece that our beloved Robert has shared with me. And Robert, what would we call this? Is this a zine, a series of poetry? Is it a book? What would you call a series of brief thoughts?
Kind of, I guess it's a series of autobiographical
Yeah.
sketches.
Mm.
Mm.
So when this was shared with me, I want to share with everyone listening that I myself was having one of those shitty ass days. Yeah. It was a day where um, someone very beloved to me was really being vulnerable and sharing how deeply they were being impacted by a great deal of the structural neoliberal violence that's happening all across the world, but in particular in the States, and how she was not sure how she was going to make ends meet and make rent by the end of the month. And with this vulnerable and real ass share from someone that other people in the world see as, air quotes, if you're not able to see me, tough, strong, fierce, has it together, I was feeling a bit hopeless and feeling really angry at everything and everyone and everywhere, and feeling um, disconnected from whatever my center is, because I'd like to think that I am an optimist even in the midst. And I know in saying that, I'm like, ugh, gag, optimist. But even in the midst of global collapse, art keeps me alive, connection keeps me alive, resistance with a core of love for everybody everywhere on the ground keeps me alive. Um, movement and dance keeps me loving and alive. My fur baby keeps me hopeful and alive. So when I have these moments of connection, I take a moment, I take a second. And so feeling a bit of this, fuck it, fuck everyone everywhere. And trying to brainstorm and trying to bring together some mutual aid amongst mutual friends, I received this little chat, this jewel from my dear beloved guest here, Robert Downs. And I thought to myself, oh, thank you. I just needed this other piece of vulnerability from across the ocean, from across the ways. And I just thought of the beauty and the simplicity and the depth of these words. I'd like to share two pieces from Robert Downs's A Series of Brief Thoughts. First one is called Music. And this is, why this is risky? Because I'm doing this without my readers, everyone, just so you know that. Okay, music. You will never know how much music saved me. You will never know because my heart is bursting as I write that thought. I will tell you something, though. Music did save me.
Mm.
I'll leave a little space here.
Yeah, it still does.
Mm. Mm. I'm going to jump to confession, aka navigating degrees of the bad. I know I am not bad, but the lies keep coming and I feel bad. I don't confess the real sins so as to ward off more badness. This seems to be a reasonable practice, a skill for life to avoid condemnation. I lie to save myself from further damnation. This too seems wise. Confession is a bad place. There is no good in this wooden box.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I say something to that?
Mm-hmm.
I get not everyone's Irish Catholic, so they might not get the wooden box reference. So I want to bring people in by kind of naming something of the context. Because going into confession was a terrible thing.
Mm.
It wasn't a spiritual act of being received by the divine. It really was a kind of wooden box where shame furthered itself.
What's your relationship
But
to that wooden box now, Robert? I know I'm sorry to cut you off. What's your relationship to that wooden box now?
well, I think part of me is always in it, and part of me is always contesting it. I think this is pretty much what we're able to do, to let go of these idealizations of really decolonizing our psyche, that to know what is in our psyche and to contend with it on the daily, to refuse its intrusions on the daily is, I think, mostly what we can manage.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to invite our listeners to consistently take a moment, especially this episode, to savor, to witness, to jot down, to tear during that. I don't know why that came up, but even if you end up jotting down your own confessions of your own sorts of boxes and places and
Mm.
spaces, bad treaties, promises, contracts, agreements, verbal, nonverbal, ancestral, individualistic ones, however they come to you, I invite you to jot them all down. And then maybe by the end, um, deciding what you want to do with them, deciding whether you want to tear this shit up, whether you want to burn it safely, whether you'd like to write letters to them, or perhaps create your own love letters or poems, as Robert has done, to some of these agreements in some way, shape, or form. So, with that, I'd like to officially introduce our baddie for our episode, Robert Downs. Robert Downs practices as a psychotherapist, supervisor, and teacher. He's a student engaged in psychosocial study and practice drawing from a range of traditions and critical viewpoints. The ground. He is a writer, visual artist, and event curator. Robert's practice is rooted in his Irish ancestral roots, unruly therapeutic, and a decolonial therapeutic alongside a lens that tears down some statuses and reckons with the social impingement on psychic and social life. Woo! Yes, we would love to welcome you with open arms and with a great big heart. Welcome, welcome, Robert.
Thank you. And I like how, oh, I was talking about tearing statues down in reference to the statues taken down there and here. But it is also the taking down of statuses.
Mm.
Mm. I
Mm-hmm.
liked that
Mm-hmm.
little hip hop remix there.
um, I have to say that one of my favorite things about you is this ability I'm sure there's a word for it, right? I'm sure there's like a really clean, neat word, and maybe you know what it is, but there is this dry, funny, yet naughty humor mixed with this creative way that you communicate that for me, Robert, starts to melt my defenses. And I start to
Mm.
think to myself, oh, what might it be like for someone to be in container with you, like to be in a session with you, to be in space with you? I just have to know. I know this wasn't even a question I intended to ask, but do you always bring this eunice, this energy, even when you're in therapeutic space?
Well, as we know, we kind of need to moderate ourselves a little or a lot in
Mhm.
session. So the badassery is there as an ingredient. The poetic is there as ingredient, but kind of mindfully so as not to kind of hijack the space. to be intrusive, but I I think people will get something of it usually, and sometimes they get quite a bit of it. Depends on who they are, of course. It's like with
Yeah.
you, we can do mutual badassery and really love and appreciate what that is in one another. Other people find it threatening, so you have to work with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And I'm wondering if there is anything that you brought to our virtual space that you might like to share with everybody. And if you have any comment or thoughts about what I read as well.
Well, I feel if I'd have known you were bringing 3 books, I would have bought 3 books for you. I would have loved to have done that. So and then when we're in a room full of books, I could pull 3 from the shelves. I guess but the book that I was thinking of before we met today was Meridian, Alice Walker.
Mm.
And I was wondering why was I thinking of that book. And I bring that book for us because I think she showed us how to navigate and think about an interiority that's inscribed by the lies, that finds a way to navigate the lies, to scratch a life in amongst the lies. So that's the book I bring. And I bring my grandfather's knife. He was a blacksmith. He had big hands, so he was not very satisfied with the knives he had. So he made one that's wood, and he's
Mm.
wrapped metal around it. And it's like he's very unpretentious. He just made a practical thing. Wasn't thinking about serious design, and that spirit of him stays with me. I've got strings hanging out of my kitchen cupboard that the cloths hang from, that he inspired by him. It's a kind of design faux pas, but it's what my granddad would do. He wouldn't mind what it looked like, and there's a kind of freedom that comes with that pre-interior design neurosis.
I love
And I,
that. Yeah.
I think it points to the pre-neoliberal capture of things and all the energy we spend on the environment when we really just need to take care of ourselves, grow food and make shelter and resist.
Mm. Mm.
So he reminds me of how shopping is capture.
Can you say that again?
He reminds me about shopping being capture.
Letting that. Yeah. And who are your people, Robert? Who tell us a little bit about
Ah,
where you come
well,
from? Yeah.
um, first and foremost, the mystery is where I come from, where we all come from. And then there's the people we land to. And primarily I land to Irish people. And I think that's where there's a kind of, um, I'm rooted primarily. And then, and then my people who are badasses, the ones who want to seek the truth. So I can find that amongst some of the Irish people. I can find that in the revolutionaries, the resistance, the people who lived and survived and made life possible under 800 years of occupation, who managed to maintain something of the original language in the way they spoke the colonizers' language.
Mm.
And sadly, Mansion McGann died recently. He's this amazing Irish man who spoke Irish, of course, and he told me about how there's 50 words for whole in Irish. So each definition is a story about how the whole came to be.
Mm.
And we know this from indigenous kind of languages, that place names were given, not men and not white men, but were given as descriptors of environments. So I guess I come from people who gave stories to the land and took stories from the land. and had an intimacy with the land until they didn't, but still maintained something of it even after 800 years. And my people are you and Feluke and Gail and Lara and the the people whose geography is the truth, whose landscape is resistance, is a celebration and recognition of the need for badassery, to recognize that this shit is killing us, as Fred Moten tells us, is killing us all. So many, many, many people, anyone who's disrupting.
Mm. And is it fair to ask, how over the years how would you kind of how have you been disrupting? How have you been disrupting? There, I guess that's the question.
My first answer is not enough.
Hmm.
And I can feel my heart touched because, of course, I can't do enough. And we can do enough, but the we has to be less frightened. And as you know, some bodies have been kind of marinated in privilege and illusions of safety and don't find it very easy to move against these currents of tyranny. And we have to hold our vexation of the catch up. So, not enough. I always feel there's more to do. And I think rather than using that to beat myself up, I have to use it as, what am I being invited to do?
Mm.
What am I being called to do? And I think of Joy James, who talks about the good life is resistance now. Well, it always was, but it has to be those who've expected a neoliberal good life felt entitled to it. And yeah, your turn is over. You've got to join the rest of the people. White people have got to join the rest of the people and join in this resistance is the good life now, people.
Yes.
And as we know, they're clinging on strongly and believing the divisive lies that divide us. Because it's hard to admit you're a failed billionaire, it seems. Or a wannabe billionaire. It's like, you know, what's been sowed is toxic and has done a good job. So we've got a lot of work to do to, I don't know whether we're going to save us. But whilst I'm here, I'm going to operate in that way because, as I've learned from Black feminism, from abolition, that you make the life that is possible in the moment, despite the system and what it's doing.
Yes. Yes. Triple yes to that. And how has Black feminism changed, shaped, impacted your life as a person and then as a psychotherapist?
Um, that is a really lengthy thesis. um, it's with me every day, so this will be a sketch, I guess, in this particular moment. The first place I go to is the gift of Christina Sharp's work in the wake. I registered that we are always in the condition of the afterlives, of property, of enslavement, of colonialism, that it's in every moment present. So I carry that with me. Sometimes it comes out in my work explicitly in the dialogue I have with some people, and sometimes it's background knowledge, background presence. So even with the most, not that I've got many bougie, rich, white clients, that they come to know that they're in a buoyancy born of whiteness and privilege at some point. It's subtle sometimes and explicit at other times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess because black feminism is multiple, I think of the critique of racial capitalism that's implicit to black feminism. I think of the practices of community, of care, that there's so much in there. All of life is in black feminism. So I hold it in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was interesting. I was thinking of Angela before we met today in relation to a recent kind of experience about um, some discussion around diversity, and her critique of diversity as window dressing
Mm.
and surface. And so this is, I think, for a while I was caught up in reform measures in institutions until I got spat out or spat myself out of the institutions that I realized they're not serious.
Mm.
And I think listening to Feluke and Gail and others helps me oh, I might have been trying to get these institutions to change, and these black women already see that ain't going to happen. We're not wasting our time there. Let's go undercommons. Let's go hedge school.
Yeah.
So I go where I can be influential and operate at borders of influence rather than trying to reform spaces that are not serious.
That's so real. Spaces that are not serious. When you
Yeah.
say that, it's just, I think of all the ways that bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, what this one might say, green, air quotes, right? Me. It's like, I'm from these streets and I'm gonna go back and help these streets. And I meant it. And I meant it. And maybe I did, and maybe I didn't. I say this often. And what I know I did do for sure was create a lot of harm, at least initially, using really Eurocentric practices as a
Mm.
therapist and really trying to, um, and again, I'm really not a fan of binaries, but be good, this arbitrary word of to do it well and use these theories and somehow as a therapist fit people who are struggling with making ends meet and invisibility and being disenfranchised and surviving and not having enough because of these systems being so fucking greedy and just constantly devouring. Um, I thought to myself, as time has gone on, that there is some, what's the word I want to use? It's worth it to occasionally name for me myself, and some of the shame I hold as someone trained as a clinical psychologist in the States. It's worth it to name the ways that I also have likely harmed, right? And that the ways that my field has harmed. And it reminds me of what you said, that you're not doing enough. I suppose that that's part of what organizes and pushes me, is
Yes.
this wanting to give more, but the badassery kind of more.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Of course it does, and I want to disrupt it a little bit because
Tell me.
Bell Hooks offers us this kind of framing about shame that I've written a lot about shame, but I start with Bell Hooks because she reminds us where shame started. We have to be really radically forgiving of ourselves. We didn't come here and just grab this stuff. It got put into us.
Mm.
So the exfoliation of it requires deep hospitality in our souls to the crap we've picked up, to forgive ourselves for enacting it, because we didn't put it there.
Thank you.
I can't remember the exact word she says, but she talks about, we internalize the shame of the system. And we have to be radically forgiving of ourselves and radically hospitable to these impingements that flavor us until we reseason what comes out of us. So fuck that shame. It doesn't belong to you.
Double middle finger is up.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, you know, I receive this. I receive all of this. You know, there's a small part of me. I imagine I might not be the only person that feels like this. So there's a question coming. There's a part of me that lately has been thinking there's this yet another version of me dying off, you know, and there's this like little squealing in the background, like, you know, like kind of this like little squealing, like, who would we be? Who would we be if we really embodied this blank new level? You know, who would we be? You know, what if I let it get to my head? What if I this? What if I that? What if I forget where I'm from? What if I, you know, all of this, I need to hold on to the pain. And at the same time, I'm like, well, the pain is everywhere. You know, it's not that I have to hold on to it, but I find myself fluctuating between this don't want to let go of how hard it was, for maybe I'll lose myself or lose this aspect of
Mm-hmm.
self, or I'll suddenly become this blank, this thing that I loathe or look down upon in this unconscious or conscious way. And so I suppose, is there a line, Robert? Like, is there a place and a space where we get to hold? And I don't know, I'm just asking like this, like both end, or I guess what I'm even deeply more wondering, like, what do we tell the youngins that are dealing with this?
Oh, so much comes to me. We could spend months on this. I think of how we can be identified with our history and pain and make it an identity and a loyalty and an honoring. So we can't make it wrong. But I think if we want to know who and what we are beyond these kind of inscriptions on our soul, psyches, born of this neoliberal kind of order, we have to give something up too that's been familiar.
Mm.
And I don't know, I think many of us, we know ourselves outside of this, our personal familial stories. We might know ourselves outside of Babylon for a moment. We might find ourselves empty and clear and simple and thoughtless when we listen to music or meditate, or that there is something other than the inscriptions on our traumatic inscriptions that I think speaks to the mystery of what we are. And the ego wants to hold on to identity,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm kind of interested in the essential identity that we find, which I think has cultural flavorings. Like, I'm interested in being Irish, but not in a nationalistic way, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a familiar frequency. You know, I get that from you and your people. The familiar cultural registers that feel like home, that feel like joy, that feel like reception, where the soul gets to relax and be free. Yeah, does that give you do I sketch something out there?
You did. You did. And the way you talk about it, like what was feeling tight and crackly sort of started unraveling inside of me a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say yes. Yeah.
And I think as I was listening to you, I was thinking about how the deep loyalty we have to the soul of us that was young that got harmed, and the ones that continue to be harmed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a love and loyalty there.
Mm-hmm.
And how can we hold that with the both and? Can I be my nature and hold that history, but not be determined by it, but respect it, and be schooled by it, but not in the grip of it?
Yes. Yeah. And that is a
And can
beautiful
I,
dance.
yes. And I think the most radical thing I got, continue to get out of spiritual, psychological, therapeutic badassery is the ongoing project of giving myself to myself as I am in each moment. if we really give ourselves to ourselves as we are in this moment, no matter what it is, wretched, reactive rage,
Mm-hmm.
empty divine love, snarky, it's hard for us to give ourselves to ourselves as we are.
Mm-hmm.
We are our own neoliberal project of improvement a lot of the time.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Leave yourself the fuck alone is the
Yeah.
is the invitation we're offering at some level, or some of us are as therapeutic spiritual practitioners. But that's a long game for most of us, to leave ourselves alone and land as we are, and see if we can understand where we and how we are in that moment, rather than come at it with a change mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and holding those tensions, yeah, I think can be its own love letter and its own
Yes.
practice, just the both. And I remember a professor accusing me, because I was confronting them appropriately so, for giving no context on a really violent racist article from like 1979 in the Journal of Negro Education, where the writer was not, in fact, Negro identified. Let's just say that. And I was just pushing back a little bit. And the professor shouts. Now, mind you, I'm an East Coaster. You know a little bit about that in terms of, and I was living and going to school on the West Coast, which is a very different vibe. And I was hella young, like 20 something. And I was saying something with like spirit. And I don't think I was being rude. I wasn't in my rude bag. Let's put it that way. I was just like, but I'm just wondering what's the context. And I was passionate and I wanted to know, because I was in a classroom with what appeared to be, he never really identified himself, like a white professor, and majority of the class were either white or white passing. And this article I found to be really violent because it was, again, written by a white professor talking about how Black fathers were just essentially worse parents than air quotes white counterparts. And everything about it I just recoiled, and I said, okay, well,
Mm.
why are we reading this? Like, what's the follow-up? Do you want to show us another new article? Do you want us to discuss? Like, I spent a week chewing on this. Where are we going? Where's it at? Where's it at? And the professor, very flustered, shouts, um, you're full of paradoxes. You can just be really, really articulate sometimes, and other times this boys in the
Mm.
hood comes out of you.
Oh.
And I was like, okay. And all I kept thinking in my mind is like, where did I fuck up? I didn't have
Mm.
this awesome comeback. I didn't, I want to give you something cool. I didn't.
Yeah. What would you do now?
Honey. My body starts, I could feel it.
Mm.
I could still feel that. I think,
Mm.
give me a second.
Mm.
What I would do now is say, yeah, that's right.
Mm.
I would say some version of like, fuck yeah.
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 Like, the hood raised me,
Mm.
and um, a lot of the people I work with are from the hood too. That's
Mm.
not an insult. That's a compliment. And I
Mm.
think that I would do my own internal working, as you were saying, we were just
Mm.
talking about, to
Mm.
really remind myself that this colonial project,
Mm.
this machine has me believing that there's something wrong with getting passionate and embodying it, and speaking from the chest, as I would say.
Yeah. And being all those fabulous paradoxes.
Yeah.
Like, what he's not a professor, in my view, If to say to tell someone you are full of you are many paradoxes is thanks. We are like, what have you just done? And he couldn't love the girl from the hood
Hmm.
and see what she brings to the therapeutic project and how we wouldn't want her to lose that energy. Like when I think about that, the experience you've described and many students' experiences, as well as some of my own, when that which is resource is diminished in the classroom,
Mm.
in that asymmetrical relationship, there's a contraction of something essential that happens until we release that somewhere else, which of course you did because you're fierce and fabulous Dr. Jen. You know, he didn't really squash your fullness, just
No.
a temporary impingement. Because that which is true insists and persists otherwise. And here you are, here we are, with our scars and lessons from these
Yes.
intrusions.
Yes. Mm. I know how they like to intrude. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and I think to myself, and all the students I've had as well, all the reminders that there are times where chairs, and I imagine that you've experienced this as well. I said, well,
Mm,
talk to that student, help them. They're never going to survive if they keep blank, talking like
mm,
this, sounding like that. Help them change their inflection. How did you do it? How do you code switch? How do you, and I might not use those words, but there's this shift. And I
yeah.
sometimes think to myself, um, I think one of my primary ways of walking in this world as psychotherapist, in writing duty, and doing this podcast, just to simply fucking show up with more of me.
Yes. All of me.
Yeah.
Why not take all? You're going to take all of me. Um,
Yeah.
I one of the beautiful things that Feluke does is she holds space for students who are navigating the institutions, and they meet in a group away from the institutions. This is like undercommons, hedge school, and it's unfortunate that this is the way, but it's fortunate that it is the way because that wasn't always the case. There was somewhere to go, to come together and kind of speak of the harms, manifest the resistance and the refusal. So that's a very practical thing. If you know there's people in institutions studying, invite them to space to hold recovery, repair, and communion and badassery.
Yes.
To,
Yeah. We need that. And we need Feluke. And
mm,
Feluke's, those,
mm,
whoever you are and what
yeah,
you look like, whatever you do.
yeah, yeah.
And, and we need, again, I'm reminded of a terminology that is on your website. I checked it out. Maybe.
Okay.
Um, queering the lens, queering the lens. And I'm just
Mm,
thinking of all the ways that it all needs to be queered the fuck up.
totally.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, yes.
And if you could tell us more about what that might mean practically for someone in their daily life to queer the lens as well as in these spaces.
Right, I have no idea right now, and something will come in a moment. Um, querying the lens really is disruption. And I guess we can only get to queer the lens if we're in communion with other people and other thinkers, whether that's reading people or meeting people or being taught by others or going off piste and finding the people who show us how to do that. Um, if I think about my history, it's all connected with people I met. In the 80s, I met Ketty and Bumi, who were doing cultural studies at a university with Stuart Hall. And that blackened and queered my lens. I started reading Stuart Hall. because of my personal relations with them, but also what they were studying. So, and I think that I think as a kid, I knew this wasn't right. I think most of us who are involved in attempting to change the world,
Mm.
recover from the world,
Mm-hmm.
implicitly know that something else is possible of us because it's already been here. We know of it. We've experienced it. We've felt it. We've lived it in amongst the trouble. So I think finding the people who point to the various ways of critiquing the world, understanding the world. I think back to one of the earlier questions, Black feminism answered a lot of questions about patriarchy and not being seen and tyrannies around gender and whiteness and reductive definitions of what it is to be black. It's the whole syllabus is there.
Yes.
So for me, queer cannot be independent from blackness. They're one and the
Mm.
same, really. I don't trust white queerness like I don't trust white feminism.
Mm. Say that. I'm going to leave a few seconds right there. For us to just, yeah, I don't trust white feminism either.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And I wonder what the root of that is for me and for others. And it's like before I had critical theory, but I think children have critical theory. Bell Hooks points to that again. We in terms of how we start interpreting the world, we already can see the lies we're being taught. But yeah, I think that's an interesting exercise. When did you when did you start critically interpreting the world?
Mm.
And we probably can each find our own individual story
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
You know, well,
Yeah.
I think watching my father's violence was the origin of my and study of patriarchy and violence and yeah, patriarchy and the beginnings of my relationship with feminist critique.
Mm.
Wouldn't have called it that then. It would have just been, that's wrong, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting exercise for us all to do, to investigate the roots of our critique. It's before any academic classroom or political classroom, I'm sure. It's usually rooted in something we observed very early on.
Yes. Yeah. Something that, that
Yeah.
did that shift in perspective, that had us
Yes.
consider, oh
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah.
this doesn't feel right,
Mm.
although everyone is
Yeah.
sort of ducking their head.
Yes.
Would you say what you shared about dad and investigating that, would you say that is also maybe the beginnings of your relationship to rage?
Mm, possibly, but I think I judged and policed rage
Mm.
through Irish Catholicism, through it feeling dangerous, through also not being schooled in how to work rage as power, until you get a kind of teaching about the sacredness of rage and hatred, it looks dangerous until you
Mm.
know how to ride it. It's like a wild horse.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of rage and hatred. They save me. And now I understand them more deeply. I love hatred for what it points to, that which we love, and peace. Hatred just wants to destroy that which disturbs the peace, the connection with the divine.
Yes. 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 And so, speaking of rage,
Mm-hmm.
I
One
it's
of our
funny,
meeting places.
right? When you popped on before before Trouble started recording, I said, "How are you?" And you're like, "Oh, well," and I went, "Well, that's right." You're like, "No, no, no, good question, but as long as we get to be honest about it." So,
Yeah.
um, I feel like last time when you and I had our own, you know, Zoom chat friend sesh,
Mm.
um, we talked the whole time sort of about how we are and how we're coping and where we are as we are also witnessing in real time collapse, uh, vast loss of life, in particular Palestinian life. You know, as we are witnessing so-called leaders, so-called leaders continuing to violate contracts, treaties. Again, here it comes up again. Um, just the amount of fucking collective loss and grief and untapped rage and fear that is showing up in the world. And I'm just wondering, it's a big question and a small one at the same time. How are you? How are you holding
Yeah.
up?
Oh my God.
Right.
Um, First of all, I'm abiding in privilege.
Mm,
My life is not endangered in the ways that the Palestinians, the Sudanese, and many more are endangered. I'm not living with those realities. I am really living in the belly of the beast in privilege. So that's not a complaint. It's just a description. Um, I happen to have a consciousness that registers what's happening on the daily. So I don't feel good. And why would I? I don't expect to. Back to Joy James helps me. Resistance is the good life now. So how I am is regulate my fury so that I can stay possible and speak possible. You know, many white bodies are really attached to keeping this privilege and this comfort and this neoliberal dream whilst these things are happening. And I need to moderate how I engage with them so that I might be influential in suggesting you might need to give up that fantasy of the good life that you had. And the fact that you're clinging on to it is a bit delusional. But I know how much you cling on to it, so I have to be skillful about how I might disrupt it. You know,
yeah.
recently we had a group of therapists concerned about the drop in people coming to therapy and thinking how they could improve getting clients. And I was like, read the room, people. Read the room. This is happening, and the air is poisonous, and the water is captured, and they're coming for us. Listen to Fred. This shit is gonna kill us all. So
Mm,
you have to make a slight adjustment. We have to join the global majority that we've managed to ignore as instructors, as people who've lost lives. Worlds have already ended.
yes.
It's our turn, and you didn't think it was going to come.
Hmm.
So I feel all the feels, but what's called for is to turn all of that into material action.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess it's partly why I like to do a lot of work around whiteness and not getting caught up in potholes of guilt and shame. And
Yeah.
no, we need to understand what it is,
Yes.
bypass those potholes and move into action.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So what's a little bit of that action look like, for white bodied, embodied folks, for the folks that are like, listen, I'm British, I'm American,
We
I'm Australian. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't,
yeah.
I'm doing what I can,
Do some
wink, wink.
more. I'll do some more if you do some more. I need to always implicate myself in that, what I ask of others, I need to ask of for myself.
Mm,
I think for me, it's partly the study of the capture in this falseness, in this lie of safety and privilege, and really. steering people into risk. You know,
Yeah.
as I hear many black and brown people tell me, we don't trust you until you do something.
Mm.
We need to see your actions. We don't want to just hear your proclamation. So, yeah, we're not serious if we're not taking risks, taking some of the blows.
Yeah. That's real. That's real. When I think of white folks that have come to really bone trust, you know, there
Mm,
is some risk and action involved, and that's going to look different for everybody at every place and every
yeah.
space, right? Like that doesn't always look like physically placing body on the line. um Sometimes it's saying the thing that everyone needs to say in the room and knowing that they have a little bit more of that edge, to say it, to get away with
Hmm.
it. So,
It's
it can look like different things. It can look like different
yeah.
things. And
Such a
um,
relief when it does happen.
such a fucking relief.
Yeah, yeah. It's, and I like it when there's other white folk doing it alongside me. But I've always been mouthy. I didn't realize that for some people it really was taboo
Mm,
to call out your relatives and your family from an early age. I was like, oh, I've had to work with people to coach them into it,
mm,
to dare it, to risk it, to get out of that child-sized body and into the adult body that needs to be here for this.
yeah, yeah. It
Mm.
really, really kind of turns on its head a little bit, right? Like the be here now. Right? I don't
Yeah,
know, in my mind,
yeah, yeah,
taking
yeah,
it from
yeah.
like up there, and not that there's not some beauty and place in it in the spiritual, but like be here now, like boots on the ground. Like let's what is that like to show up and embody what
Hmm.
we're in, from what's happening from, Tigray to the Congo to, like what is that like to Hawaii to Puerto Rico? Like what is it like to fucking be here
Yes, yes,
right now?
yeah. And to what are you being asked to do?
Yes.
What would you ask of the world if you were in that predicament, in that situation? What would you want others to move like?
Mm,
So I've been thinking about the people here in this country who've been imprisoned for I think nearly a year now for protesting genocide.
mm,
The sacrifices willing sacrifices they have made, and honoring them and what they've done. And it continues, this capture of resistance. And yeah, I want to be those guys
yeah,
at some level
yeah.
and also do the work I do where I do it. I think you were asking about practical things. Fluke and I work together a lot. So, rather than this singular trainer, which is a neoliberal model, no, if you want to address people properly, you need more than one person in
Mm,
the address. If the students are mixed heritages, they want to be spoken to by someone in the vicinity of the neighborhood. And as is clear with me when me and Fluke work, she doesn't want to do the white work. That's for me to do. So there's
yeah.
a real, labor distribution that's appropriate,
Mm-hmm.
as well as a modeling and a teaching of something that comes of that. So that's one of our insistences. We come together so that the address is multiple.
I love that. It's so deeply needed, and it's so
Yeah,
deeply natural, right? To also carry
yeah,
and hold for one another, to take
yes,
turns, like kind of tossing the
yeah,
ball,
yeah,
that
yeah,
look.
yeah,
That's what I love
yeah,
about group. I love that about group.
yeah.
That look, that
Mm.
nod.
Hmm. This one's for you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And so, huh, this one's for you. You just that stayed with me. So which one, kind of shifting here, is for little Bobby
Mhm.
Like, what do you do for little you? What do you do still for him? Does that make sense?
Yes, I can make it make sense, or I can respond.
Yeah.
I I think I've spent much of my life learning how to turn towards to what he lived through and in, leaving him the fuck alone, basically, so that I become, through the journey of life, through therapeutics, through disruptive therapeutics, through deep shame work, through to become the one who can sit with him as it was with the legacy. I'm not trying to give him something he didn't get because he didn't get it. I'm really turning myself into the most hospitable, radically hospitable witness, embodied witness. And as I said earlier, I think we're busy trying to fix that one and get away from that one and improve it and hide it until we're not, until we're naked, both naked. I'm no longer trying to do anything with you. I see you. I see what you went through. I see all of you. I will be with all of the horrors. I can now be with all of the horrors. So even relinquishing the therapist from having to do it, realizing, oh, I have to become that one. And hang out with people who mirror that. You
Mm,
mirror that. You mirror that. Within seconds, she's my friend.
mm.
Mm. I could feel your deep, deep, deep hospitality and deep work.
Well, I see you, my friend, and I see little you, and I send that back to you. I feel that,
Mm.
you know.
Yes. And you know, there's a soundtrack in my head right now.
Tell us what it is.
It's D'Angelo. How does it feel?
How do I'm hearing the I'm hearing it.
He sang intimacy.
Mm,
He embodied that kind of intimacy, that invitation to intimacy.
vulnerability,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which I think of as our capacity to be radically open. Those moments where there isn't even danger,
Mm.
and how we remember those moments and seek them out and find them with our people, with our music, with our refuges.
Music is magical in its way to transport so many of us
Mm-hmm.
into, I'd like to, into ourselves even more,
Mm-hmm.
deeper into me. Um, Truly, music is what, and movies, I would say, shows
Mm-hmm.
is where I started to see, but mostly music because of the intimacy piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it's so sticky and crackly and uncomfortable. I feel like I was able to find myself from Hole and Courtney Love, believe it or not, to Bjork to I don't know, Mob Deep and Smith and Wesson. Like I feel like I was
Mm-hmm.
able as a kid. Phil Collins. I loved Phil Collins at 15, and I never admitted it to any of my friends because that was not cool on the corner. But now, I don't know, with the tickety talk and TikTok and Instagram, when I see the youngins, you know, kind of doing this little like a bunch of them hearing the beat drop and I can feel it coming on the air,
Mm-hmm.
and you see
Mm-hmm.
the and feeling it and feeling the vibe of it. I'm just like, yes, yes, like that that drop, that feeling. Like I can feel it too. We can feel it too. And so there's something
Yes.
about that. I feel like the queerness of all music. May we each come out every time I show someone or give someone a playlist. I feel like they get to know parts of me that are not on display.
It's biographical.
Mm,
Yeah, they are playlists as sacred inscriptions,
yeah.
revelations, and company. Mm.
Did you ever do like burn CDs or make mixtapes?
And I'm from the analog era. I made mixtapes. Well, I would record pieces of songs from the radio onto cassette. I wish I still had them. And so each, cassettes, then mini discs.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm
Same.
I'm still trying to find a mini disc with some really early Jasmine Sullivan on it.
Mm.
That's in my pile of mini discs. So I had to keep my mini disc player so I can investigate that.
Mm.
But no, I've got all of them, and but now I need to move away from the dreaded um, Apple and find an alternate. Big plug. Get off Spotify if you haven't already. Get off the rest of them.
Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. I needed that reminder too.
Mhm.
Side note, I sent Robert a playlist. He's like, oh, I don't have Spotify anymore. I was like,
Mhm.
what did I miss? What happened? And you enlightened me. And I was like, oh, it's so much music. And it's the least I can do. Yeah, I'm gonna
This
do
is
it.
it. We've been asked to.
Yeah.
When people have been killed, ask you to do something. You don't fuck around.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It's what I would want.
Thank
I
you.
think that must be the most infuriating thing is watching so many of us be passive, frozen. So we need people who can talk about fear and freeze and as refuge and how to defrost and move.
What do you say folks most need to defrost at this time? There could be one thing, and I know that's a really silly question to try to reduce it down, but if there's one thing in this moment, because that could change tomorrow for you, in this moment, what is a one thing for folks that are listening and they're like, yeah, tomorrow I will, or next day, or, that freezy kind of wired, tired, frozen energy?
I think we have to
Yeah.
notice the freeze
Mm,
and then understand what it's trying to do for us and then see if that releases us. And if that doesn't, find someone who's going to tell you what to do, because go and find a badass friend who will tell you what to do.
word. Yes.
Mm. It's like
Yes.
some of us need a shove.
Mm,
So calibrated shove, little gentle nudge. We have to calibrate and figure out what's the attuned response and sometimes make demands. All of it, every strategy going, really.
yes.
And I think a bit of emotional manipulation is appropriate. What would you want? What would you want if this was happening to you?
I would want people to
Yeah,
not stop. Yeah,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah,
I want people to
yes.
be fucking enraged. I want them to
Hmm.
do something. I want them to take care of the children, to make sure they're
Yes.
safe, to get them out, to all of it,
Mm,
to
yeah.
stop buying new cell phones, I want them to get a little bit uncomfortable.
This is a different kind of playlist. We could make a thing of this where you kind of, these are the things I want for us all to do. These are the things I want for us all to do. And we can um,
Mm,
follow them,
yes.
take instruction.
Mm, I like this
Mm.
playlist. Yeah. So I think it's feeling right in my body to ask you one of my favorite questions. And what seed? What are you passing forward? for future generations, 7 generations after? What seed are you planting? What do you want them to know and remember of you, of your work?
I don't know.
It's real.
Yeah, there's so much that we need. There's so much wisdom, so much care, so much disentangling. Um, I, I guess the people who've been touched by the work I do, the writing I've done, the workshops I've done, the work I do with Feluke, when I see when that work looks like it's making life, when people are living it, carrying it, doing something with it, manifesting in the world, those are the seeds I guess I can see some life coming of, and that sustains me. So I guess I want to, for that, there's always been people who've been part of that tradition of how do we make otherwise life. So just being part of that continuation. So when I die, people might say, yeah, he upset the right people. But I want to go back to something else you were talking about earlier on a moment. It's like
Mhm.
we hurt each other to really befriend that reality. I think that maybe there's something that we hurt each other. We need to be able to turn up to that.
Mm.
Not flagellation, not innocence, to speak the simple truths. Doesn't make us a good or a bad person. We just need to be able to confess with love and truth so that we can make repair where possible, make borders where necessary. I'm not going out with them again.
Mhm.
the, yeah. Something about the intimacy of deep care. Not the way that self-care has been hijacked as
Mhm.
self-care, but self in relation to other care. Audra didn't have in mind this neoliberal candles and spa days. She didn't have
Nope.
that in mind.
Nope. Nope.
So the matrix of care that's required.
I love that. Yeah. And for me, most days, that care sometimes goes into got to pull it all back in and go a little
Mm-hmm,
hermit, and not in this purposeful, harmful, harshy
mm-hmm,
way, just in this like, oh, I can no longer feel where I end and you begin. And this is a
mm-hmm.
little disorienting. Sometimes it's nice, and sometimes it's a bit kind of, I can't land or ground. And so,
Yeah,
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 and sometimes I do a little crab turtle thing.
yeah. Well, I think of Fluke's permission prayers
Mm,
are essential. Permission to retreat sometimes. Permission to hide for a moment,
yeah.
to lie with my woundedness for a moment, to be regressed for a moment, to give up for a moment. We need all that.
Yes, we do.
Some of us more than others. Some of
Yeah.
us need to be on more duty. So
Mm.
you can take some rest and recovery space.
Hmm. Yeah. Mm.
Mm.
I can be on with you, and we probably have for hours.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love. One of the things I love about you is that which I can't give word to. It's just a
Mm.
feeling. It's a feeling. Um, it's a
What's the
feeling
quality?
of seenness. Sorry.
I was going to say, what's the quality of it?
Mm. Just good. I'll explain. Like a stew. It reminds me of my mom's like beef stew with like
Mhm.
carrots and potato and like great freaking seasoning. And the meat just falls apart. Sorry, y'all, if you're vegetarian or whatever, But it just it's a feeling of, I would dare say, home.
Mhm.
This I mean, I think that's what I was trying to get at in some of my writing. It's like home is not always a place for some of us when we feel
No.
constantly or since childhood unhoused and have been.
Mhm.
you know um but when we find these people, places, and spaces that genuinely feel warm and tasty and
Mhm.
nurturing, and like I can land here and I can be
Mhm.
messy and I can be smart and I can be sharp and I can like listen to music with you, that feels comfortable. Can stick my belly out a bit more. Yeah.
Yes. That's mutual. I think there's a co-created kind of presence. You know,
Mhm.
the industry, the creativity of our endeavors to become, to be made, kind of shows up and gets to meet and greet and be in a state of relaxation. You know, and we need that, especially when we're kind of activist, whatever we want to call that work we do, when we're having to navigate resistance and defense and rejection and violence, that we need the people that we know our body can yield with.
Yes.
And I think that's some of what you were describing. And I was seeing bacon and cabbage, Irish bacon and cabbage stew.
Mm.
Not as seasoned, although very salty.
Ugh,
Mm.
I see you, and thank you. And I have no doubt that folks are listening to this, and you.
Mm.
And my hope is just receiving, whether a spoonful,
Mm.
whole bowl of that cabbage and bacon, or, just parts and parcel, and even maybe
Mm.
feeling riled the F up, just like, yeah, what more can I do?
Yes,
Or
yes.
what part of me needs to retreat and rest, and what part or aspects of me needs to um, galvanize
Yeah,
and activate.
yeah.
And so if folks want to sit and learn from you a little bit more, connect with you, receive from you, read your writing, where might they locate you?
Um, I guess via my website or via Instagram.
Sounds good.
Oh, yeah, I'm findable.
And we will put all of that in show
Mm.
notes. And we'll
Mm.
make sure that you're as accessible as possible. And I suppose my last final question for now
For now,
is, for now, what are you
yeah, because we're
listening to?
chatting.
Yeah, we are chatting.
Oh, we're always chatting. What am I listening to? I'm listening to oh my God, have I forgotten? This is Ajamane, and I'm going to go and see her soon with Fluke and Barbie and others, Hakeem. And yeah, her song is Hurt or Hurts is ridiculous.
Mm,
But I was, but as you know, I was also at Erykah Badu the other day.
yes.
And then she also played a bit of D'Angelo. So that all of these are in my register at the moment.
Your field and your energy.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I loved your videos of Erica, so thank you for
Mm,
sharing.
mm,
That was
mm.
awesome. I saw her live back in 2011. Me and my California friend Erin. You remember was it Living Social or Living? It was like some kind of like a holiday. What is like jet holiday? Like it's sort of like a little package. How do y'all call it?
Oh,
Um,
Jet. Yeah, they make all these skits about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of those things.
Jet 2, yeah.
Yes. And we, for, thank you student loans, because we were grad students and just eating ramen and like pasta, whatever was accessible. But we went to Australia for 3 weeks on this amazing, inexpensive package, and thank everything that it was actually legit. And it included breakfast and meals, so we were able to like get by. And I saw Erica Badu live standing room because we could not afford a seat, and it was sold out probably instantaneously at the Sydney Opera House
Wow.
in like 2011. And when she started the beginnings of You Better Call Tyrone, we hooped and hollered. Everyone turned around and looked at us, and we're like, oh. But it's, she feels like home too. And I don't even know her like that. I know her and I don't know her,
Yeah. Well, she's given us a lot to be with, register.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you for your radical, humble, loving, deeply honest presence. Thank you for the space that you hold for so many, including myself. Thank you for the push and the pushing that you continue to do. And I jotted this down. Thank you for your disruptive therapeutics. You said that. You also said thank you for helping this capture of resistance. Thank you for reminding us of the intimacy of deep care. The real shit, not the bubbly, candlelight bullshit.
No, we don't do bullshit. That's why we hang.
We don't do bullshit. We do badassery. T-shirt.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you for all of that in you. That's why I'm here. Your formidable gifting of presence. This, how did you come to be? It's like, wow. And this is testament to the miracle of what we really are. These forces, these powers, these souls get to be in the world despite all the fuckery. We insist otherwise and meet each other and make life in amongst the trouble.
Thank you. And beloved listeners, get your fill of some Robert Downs and go listen to some music. Call a friend, a person that feels like home. Remind them why the world needs them, why you do. And don't stop pushing. Don't stop trying. Don't stop being uncomfortable. Don't stop dancing. And what did you say? This is the new. There's a quote you said twice. I didn't write that down.
The new playlist of things to tell each other to do.
Yeah, I like that. You say so many great things. All of it. Thank you. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for being on From Root to Bone Season 2. You rock.
You're welcome, and thank you for the invitation. I'm delighted.
Yay. Thank you.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. From Root to Bone is a podcast from Decolonizing Therapy. It is hosted by me, Dr. Jen Mullen. Our producer is Tribble at Ash Tribble Incorporated. Original music by Laura Burke and cover art by Madre Shell. Don't forget to find us on Instagram at Decolonizing Therapy and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Decolonizing Therapy, for the full video version of each episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your people and leave us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps people find us. For more info about decolonizing therapy, visit our website, www.decolonizingtherapy.com. Be well.